Hello, hello. Welcome to the Hello Cannot podcast. My name is Kevin, and welcome back to the show. For today, I'll just be doing this by myself as my wife is a bit busy. So hopefully today I'll be bringing up a very interesting topic for you. It may not be relevant for everyone, but hopefully, if you have a friend or two, or a brother or a sibling who understands this, it will help. And today I'll be talking about computer games or video games in general. So, as usual, I hope you have a cup of coffee, tea, whatnot, a drink at least. And also, I have heard that I have gotten feedback that sometimes my show is best listened to while drunk. So I do highly advise you consume alcohol at your own consent and also at your own responsibility. Okay, now to kick off today's topic, I just wanted to share with you how this today's topic came about, and it all started with recently I sold my PlayStation 4 on Carousell, and once I sold my PlayStation 4, I proceeded to also sell all the games that I have, right? So I recently just sold my latest game called Neo 2. So basically, it's like a Dark Souls game that you play with the settings in Japan. It's quite fun. It's quite tough, but throughout most of COVID last year, this is the game that I was playing very often, right? And it gets to a point where my wife keeps asking me, "Is that the same game that you've been playing all this while?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, for the past month or two, this is the game that I've been playing in my spare time." So yeah, but my wife did raise a very interesting question because she sees games very differently from how she sees a device or a console. Okay, so what it means that it's like you can sell the PlayStation 4, but those games, it sort of brings a different type of memory. So wouldn't it be wouldn't it be precious to you to bring back some kind of memory, keep it as a memorabilia? And that was a very interesting question because I never saw the game in that sense. I mean, of course, I do have a lot of great moments with the games that I've played, right? And sometimes I even replay some of the games that I've played before. But does it hold a place in my heart so special that I'm not able to let go of it? The answer is probably no, right? As much as my wife, who really, really loves me, she has also accepted the part of me that loves playing games, right? And this love for playing games has originated since I was very young. And it's very interesting because at a very young age, everyone has, in a way, been exposed to computers, and not everyone has the right games to play with, right? And even back then, when we were young, internet was not cheap, so very seldom we get to go online to play any online kind of games. So what happened was, as I was growing up, I started getting exposed to computer games, and as always, one of the first few games that I'd be exposed to on computers would be Solitaire, Minesweeper, stuff like that. So I kept playing, and eventually I got pretty good at both these games, and it started getting boring. But let me just say, as a child, I started playing with Pokemon cards, toys like Yo-Yo, what's that spin Beyblade thing? Where you spin the top in like a gauntlet, and you try to knock the other person's spinning top, yeah, whatever lah. Anyways, those were very good times, but nothing was as revolutionary as the PlayStation 1. And I would like to blame one of my very good friends at the time during primary school for it. He was the so-called bad influence on all of us. So he was having his birthday party, and he was one of the few kids that was exposed to this kind of video games. And I remember going to his house, to celebrate, eat cake, but more importantly, was to play his PlayStation, which contains a lot of games. And so pretty much that kicked off my how I began to start playing video games at a very alarming rate. Yeah, I would say alarming because it does go on for quite some time, and a lot of hours have been wasted. Yeah, and what happened was this PlayStation 1, right? I'm not sure if any one of you would know, but it used to contain very, very good games. good games like Crash Bandicoot, your Final Fantasy games, and one of my favorite, Digimon Rumble Arena. It's like a game where you get to choose your own Digimon between Digimon 1 and 2 and 3 as well, if not mistaken. And from this 3 series worth of Digimons, you can choose and battle it out with your friends. I eventually learned to get very good at it, and I kept beating my friends at my friend's birthday party. So that was a very interesting thing. It didn't just end there, and it didn't just end there, right? Eventually, I was negotiating with my parents to say, hey, if I study hard, if I get very very good grades, can I please have a PlayStation? And surprisingly, my parents did give in and they bought me a PlayStation 1. So that was, I think, around Standard 6. And this, Standard 6, how old was I during that time? 12 years old. So that would be around 2003. That's when I officially got my first PlayStation 1. And I had so much catch up to do because PlayStation 2 was just right around the corner. I never bought PlayStation 2, but because I was still playing PlayStation 1 games. And I think between Crash Bandicoots and Digimon Rumble Arena, these were the two games that I spent most of my time in, trying to hone my skills and basically try not to lose or die. Yeah. And so between the transition, right, between PlayStation 1 and I did buy PlayStation 3, and this was while I was in Australia, while studying for my degree. I played a lot of computer games. That's the time when computer games started ramping up. So I think for every one of you guys who have played some form of online games, you guys would have known the few popular ones. One of them would be like Counter-Strike. You've played a lot of hours, especially at cyber cafes. Yeah, we would have played Call of Duty. You would have played Left 4 Dead 2. Those were the bomb, the games that you would have played, at cyber cafes with your friends. Even, yeah, Dota, right? Defense of the Ancients. Dota was such a hot game back then. Everyone was just playing it, and I just couldn't resist. So yeah, I got very addicted. I visited cyber cafes pretty often, with or without my friends. Yeah, and those were interesting times which my parents do not know about unless they listen to this podcast now. Yeah, and so during this entire time, I was also exposed to online games like MapleStory, O2 Jam, Ragnarok. Oh boy, did I really increase my internet bills and electricity bills during that time. I was playing day and night, and even while I'm on that jarring, dial-up internet, the beep 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 beep, I was always constantly playing up to a point where my parents found out that my internet/phone bill at that time went up to a few hundred. And yeah, as a kid, I wouldn't have known, that was a huge amount. So, well, that I was barred from playing online games soon after, at least until streamings came along. Yeah. So those were very interesting times, and I would just like to share, right? Personally, all the kids, we play a lot of games like this. Okay, we played so many games that it will range from basically from something as simple as Harvest Moon, where you're basically trying to plant crops, plant vegetables, and try to sell them, and probably date one of the townspeople and get married with them. And it ranges all the way to killing demons, killing monsters as a daily activity, or even just killing normal people in, for instance, Call of Duty or Counter-Strike. Never once have I heard of anyone willing to kill people in real life, in reality, right, outside of these video games. It really bothers me that when people say computer games, they will induce violence in children, and I don't think that's really the case. In fact, I would say that by playing games, you're always learning how to beat the game, and you're always like dying in games, or you're losing in games. And by playing a lot of games, it trains, number one, your hand-eye coordination movement, which is awesome, which is great, and will be very useful in your later life. The second thing is you learn that losing means nothing, right? Or just getting frustrated does not reward you in any kind. So you learn to get good at a game, and you learn how to calm yourself down and to prevent frustration or any kind of upset from getting at you. So it's a very important critical skills that I believe children learn at a very young age, which carries forward into their life very well, because this kind of skills is not something that is taught. It's something that is innate, something that is natural to the children based on the experiences that they have been through. And I think this really helps them at facing times of difficulty, times of frustration, depression, stuff like that. And that's where I really see the benefit of playing games. Of course, don't play too much, don't do it the way I did, right? Don't play 24 hours, a day for 3 days straight, stuff like that. Play it moderately and play it smartly, and that's where you can really see the benefits of games. Okay, so unfortunately, this gaming need or urge of mine never subsided up until I went to Australia, right, for my degree, for my university. I was even exposed further to even more types of games. And the good thing about being overseas is that the types of games that you're exposed to gets broader, right? And we also get to play more games, all the way from Nintendo. I think it was Wii U back then. And I also bought my first PlayStation 3 based on my part-time job, which gave me decent money, sufficient money to not only cover my allowances, my spendings for food, and rent, as well as maybe, just to buy a PlayStation 3 just to pass time during uni. So I played a lot of games, especially Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I think, back then. Spent a lot of hours, played games like Heavy Rain. Gaming was a very common thing in university, and I also studied IT, which means I'm in a room full of nerds, right? Everyone's discussing games more than sports. So it was a very common topic, and I also met very, very good and close friends, even though they're Asians essentially, but they're all born and raised in foreign countries, like let's say Thailand, even in Australia, and they grew up there. So a lot of them have been playing games for a very long time. But I want to also mention that it is by playing games is when you strengthen your bonds with your friends. So starting off in university, I have 4 to 5 very close friends now. But during when we were in university, we just met. We didn't start off playing games. We were all hindered by the same project, the same stupid project that we all had to do, and we were all just at the computer labs at night, right? And suddenly, while we're doing our work, we'll be like, oh, hey, there's another gang that's in the same class and you're submitting the same project that is just on the other end of the computer lab. So, we started to talk, we started mixing around, and we started to play games together after the projects. So I remember one of my close friends, he introduced this League of Legends game to us. And we would just spend most of our time, which either when I'm not working or when I'm not studying, playing this game League of Legends, which is very similar to Dota, for hours on end. So I'll be just constantly playing in my room, speaking to them online, and just trying to strategize and see how we can beat the opposing 5 players. So I will also say that by playing games, it also strengthens the bond, and also how should I say this? It can really, really discipline you depending on the game that you're playing. So for games like World of Warcraft, once you have already gained to a certain level, and that's when you need to start doing raids, right? So raids is basically a timely event where within, let's say, a given time span of 24 hours, you can go in as a clan, as a guild, go in, kill the boss, come out, wait for another 24 hours, and go in and kill again. And the reason why you're constantly doing this is because this is the best way to get the best gear for your character. So this will help boost your character into a very strong attack, strong defense, or magic attack, stuff like that. But this kind of what we call as raids for World of Warcraft happens at different varying hours of the within the game time. And because we are based in Australia, and a lot of the how should I say this, the timing of the raids are based in America. So there are a lot of times when we have been invited into guilds where the raids will start at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and you actually have to set a timer to wake yourself up and to go kill the boss in this raid. Maybe it'll take half an hour to an hour, and once it's done, you go back to sleep and prepare for your next day. So, if you're really that disciplined, you want to get your characters to a stronger growth, that is one of the ways to do it, right? And that's how you discipline yourself in that sense, right? So all of these games, they came as a very natural thing for me. And I'm happy to say that I've made some of the best friends in university life that I could never have imagined, okay? And it's all thanks to gaming. So once I came back to Malaysia, that's when I brought all my stuff back, including my laptop, my PlayStation 3. And it wasn't long before, PlayStation 4 came out, right? And that's when, it's the latest technology. Most of the games are already migrating to PlayStation 4. It's the new console that you need to get to be updated with the latest games. And that's where, I started working and I had to fork out my, I think, first few months of salary, to accumulate, to go through all my savings to buy my first PlayStation 4. And because of that, I started, migrating all my games to from PlayStation 3 to 4 as well. So at that point of time, I went through the first phase, of selling my PlayStation 3, because obviously one asshole part about Sony is that none of the games that are that is in PlayStation 3 will be compatible in PlayStation 4. So there is no backwards compatibility, which is stupid. It's very stupid, right? But when we start moving to PlayStation 4, everything that you've played in PlayStation 3 will be obsolete. So it was then and there that I decided, okay, let's sell off my PlayStation 3. But PlayStation 3 being my first real hard-earned money to spend on. And also it brings back so much memories. When I was in university, a lot of my friends came to play games with me, maybe even play FIFA. And that was the hardest time when I had to actually put my PlayStation 3 online and sell it to someone else, right? So I went through that first phase and be like, okay, this is the games, that I will probably never see again, no matter how much I loved playing them. And I think because of that experience, it carried forward to when I'm selling my PlayStation 4. I love the games. I've played games like Neo 2, Final Fantasy 15. I know a lot of controversial issues on that one. What else? Nier Automata, and gaming is a part of my life. I have to accept that, and maybe I might be even getting the PlayStation 5 if once all the good games are out, then it's worth buying. I do have a Nintendo Switch that my wife bought for me, and we've been recently we haven't been playing that much, but we've been playing a lot of games together. Games like, what was that called? The Untitled Goose Game. We've played Overcooked. We've played Luigi's Mansion 3, specifically 3. And we've also played like Mario Kart. So those are games where you're trying to bond with someone close to you, right? And I think getting into a family life, I have been looking forward more to games that I can tag my wife along with, and also, I enjoy the times that we spend together, which is very valuable. And also, there are so many things that I can teach her because she never grew up playing games. So there are a lot of things that come very easy for us, like, okay, if a zombie comes, you shoot it in the head, right? And it's an insta kill. But for my wife, it's like, I'm shooting bullets, right into the heart. Why isn't the zombie dying? Stuff like that. So there are a lot of things that, when we start playing games, we take it for natural that this is the expected behavior. But for people that have never touched it before, it's very unique to them. They find it very interesting. There is also this this YouTube video online that you can search. Basically, this person did like a documentary video where he played games with his wife, and he was sharing the stories of how his wife basically didn't understand concepts of gaming, like how when you're shooting bullets, right? You need to reload from time to time, and when you're throwing a grenade, you can actually hold the grenade down. You don't need to throw it immediately, stuff like that. So it's all explained in his video, which is something I found very interesting, because and we never really, at least myself, I've never really thought about it that way. And another YouTube video channel that I've been watching frequently with my wife is the Girlfriend Reviews. So Girlfriend Reviews is actually a very interesting channel, whereby the boyfriend of the YouTuber basically plays games, and from a girlfriend's perspective, what does she see, what does she feel about the game. It's a very interesting concept, right? Because taking Dark Souls for example, for us gamers, we see the difficulty in the game, like, oh, it's so hard to kill this boss, we need to do this left and right, stuff like that. But from the girlfriend's perspective, all they see is the "you are dead" screen all the time. And it also makes a specific sound where the girlfriend basically keeps listening to this sound and she gets very sick of it. So it's a very interesting take, but also it goes back to my point that video games do bring people closer, right? So I will be sharing the links to both of the video and the video channel that I've mentioned earlier in the description. So do feel free to look out for it, and also just see, maybe you'll find it interesting. I'm not sure, but yeah, do give it a look. Yeah, and those are basically the benefits of gaming. I'm not sure why I started talking about the benefits. I just wanted to share my experience on gaming. Yeah, because all this while, living in a typical Asian family, gaming was never, how should I say this? Gaming is never really seen as a tool where it benefits the children or anyone, okay? Gaming is basically, how Asian parents see it is that it's like a video game that takes your attention away from something, but does it bring any value? And I don't understand why the answer is usually it's no for Asian parents. And I think most of our parents, or most of my friends, right, who grew up in that kind of environment, who is not fortunate enough, I would say, to be exposed to video games, they would have been missing something in their life, right, as they grew up. Technology is always changing, we're always getting better games, and it's really a developing industry that will never stop, because there's a need to play video games. And also video games is a way of venting, not to say vent, I would say it's an outlet in case you've had a very long or bad day or rough day. You can just start playing your games. Of course, you choose the good games, right? Like Harvest Moon. You just plant crops and then you sell them, and you make love to your and non-playable characters in the town, and have kids with them. You can play those kind of games to like tone yourself down, to just calm yourself. Okay, it's the end of the day, I just want to play stuff like that, like maybe Animal Crossing, just talk to people and just end it, end my day, not like kill yourself, but yeah, just end it, end your day in that sense, and then start again tomorrow in a very stressful environment. And I still prefer this kind of games, where it's, how should I say this? It's still better than, drinking alcohol. It's better than smoking cigarettes. It's still better than, getting drugs like weed, stuff like that. It's definitely way more beneficial, and I think you do learn things during the process. Now, I am advocating for parents or even peers of my own. I think it's time to keep an open mind. If your kids want to play games, I would say don't stop them, but do try to redirect them to the games that are appropriate for their age, right? So imagine if you're playing a 3 to 5 year old, maybe you can start them off with Angry Birds. Don't start them off with something tough like, let's say, Counter-Strike, right? Because they wouldn't understand the concept. They will probably throw a tantrum, get frustrated very quickly. Or I think one of the greatest games that have been created during our era, during our lifetime as of now, is Minecraft. Minecraft is built on very simple concept. You're basically given all the basic building blocks, square blocks, right? And you just give them different materials. Kids can go crazy at it, right? It's basically Lego, but on a video game, in a video game. You can build anything you want. You can build like the entire Harry Potter castle. You can build Lord of the Rings. You can build switches. to raise elevators and stuff like that, escalators and stuff like that. And it's just so mind-blowing to see what kids can achieve these days with just a simple squarish block, right? Given all of this kind of resources, they can actually tap into their creativity to learn more, to see how they can do things better. And I think it's really okay. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than all of the education that is taught in class, but it's definitely a very good life skill in terms of training your critical thinking as well as logical thinking in terms of how to handle certain situations. It offers better lessons than what education can teach, because at least in Malaysia, 1 plus 1 is 2. You don't understand why. You don't need to understand why. You just need to know that 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's the formula and that's the answer, right? But it doesn't really give a lot of open spaces for you to understand how this concept came about. But by playing stuff like Minecraft, you have to develop your own sense of logical thinking, how things work, and what do you need to do to achieve the best results based on your ideologies. So I think that's pretty much where I'm coming from. Although I've played Minecraft, but I don't have the time to delve too much into one game. I would like to experience more. So parents or even just siblings, brothers, sisters, if you guys are not exposed to video games, there is no harm in playing a video game. Just play as a family or play with your friends. Get exposed to it, right? You can start off with something easy like Overcooked. All you need to do is, hey, start off the level, chop some vegetables, grill some meat, put them together, and then serve to your customer. That's it, right? Maybe with the addition of washing dishes. But when you're playing as a family, everyone can do their part. One person could be just cooking, one person could be washing dishes, one person could be serving the customers. There is easier way of managing and getting around these kind of games, right? To say, let's work as a team, let's get a higher score, okay? So yeah, games are the future. They will never stop. All of our handphones come with access to games, right? You go to your Apple Play Store, your Google Play Store, everything is there for you to search and download. Okay, so do not worry too much in terms of whether my kids should be gaming or not, but probably more control on how often or how much gaming should they have versus like getting like some physical exercise and stuff like that. So weighing out the pros and cons, gaming is not really bad, but I think it's a very good childhood, very good memory, I think, for the kids. But of course, if you have other important things to do, and this is probably on the lower list of your actions to do actions list, then just park it aside first. Yeah, that's the planet will not die while you're away. Get your stuff done first, those that really puts food on your table, then only you come and save the world in whatever game you're playing. Yeah, that's what my wife always says. Which world are you saving today? Are you going to save the Final Fantasy world, or are you going to save the cooking industry world? Stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode for today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys could find something relevant, that you guys have played some of the games that I've mentioned and you guys really enjoyed it. I hope. If not, please replay them. You could probably enjoy them more often. Okay? And on a side note, to all of the Australians out there, I pity you, because in Australia, violence and gore is a big no-no in the Australian video game industry. So if there's blood, they need to remove the blood aspect of the game. So if you're playing Counter-Strike or even stuff like Left 4 Dead 2, there cannot be blood. Like that, you cannot shoot someone and expect blood coming out. So I feel very sorry for you, that you guys have such harsh restrictions in terms of gaming. Quickly move out of the country. Just leave. Oh my god. Everything there is just trying to kill you. And also to take note to all my audiences and listeners, kangaroos can kill you, right? Kangaroos do contribute a significant amount of deaths compared to sharks. So please take note. And yeah, that's it for my Australian friends or people who plan to migrate to Australia. All right, that's all for today's episode. Take care. I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and I'll catch up with you soon.